Hi everyone, it's Regina, and this is a very important tutorial on how to dye your Sola wood flowers. Now, we're going to be working with dahlias today, and these are actually, I think this is probably one of my favorite flowers from Megan's collection. And we're going to learn how to dye these. Now, everybody has a preference on dye. I personally like using the really small 2-ounce bottles of acrylic dye or acrylic paint from either Walmart, Michael's, or Hobby Lobby. As you can see, 2 ounces. These paints will go really far. Some of these paints range from between, I believe this was a 50-cent bottle from Walmart, to $2. To be quite honest, all of these paints are exactly the same as long as they say acrylic. This is a matte acrylic, so it's not going to dye shiny or dry shiny. This is going to give that very, I guess matte look. It's not going to have that sheen to it at all. So we're going to try using this dye today, and I'm going to talk about measurements because that's probably what gets a lot of people. So the most important thing that you're going to need is a container, just like this, okay? If you plan on dyeing a lot of flowers, I suggest getting a deep container, okay? And if you plan on saving dye, I would definitely get a lid for it. So this, I think, was around $3.50 from Walmart. Now, let's say, for example, if you don't want to buy anything, please use stuff around the house, even though I'm trying to look out for the environment. When I first started, I just used the Sola cups. Now, these are pretty deep and they're pretty good to use. However, this is wasteful. We don't want to waste anything that could be in our landfills. Or what you could use is an old jar around the house, okay, to store your paints, okay? Now this is a pretty good jar, I'm pretty sure it's probably not going to fit, a 1-inch or 2-inch bolly in there, but if you have a smaller one, like a daisy or something like that, you could definitely use this. So anyway, now let's get to measurements. A lot of people will say, oh, well, you should just eyeball it and blah, 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 and for me, that didn't really help me at first because for me, I like to use measurements. I want to know what works for people. So for me, what I usually do is that I usually use about 1 to 1.5 ounces of paint. So how much is that? Let's say if you don't have this cool cylinder measuring cup thing. Well, you could definitely use a measuring spoon. So if you do 1 to 1.5 ounces of paint, that's around 2 to 3 tablespoons of paint. So there's already a tablespoon in here. I'm going to add another one. Okay, and as you can see, this is really thick. Goes on thick. Okay, this is going to last me at least 2 dozen if I am really good about my measurements here. About 2 dozen flowers you could probably dye with this. Okay, now what am I going to do with it? It's really goopy, it's really thick. I don't know what to do. Okay, well, for me, what I will advise to do is to water this paint down. So I'm going to add 2 to 3 ounces of boiling water, or in this case, it would be between 4 to 6 tablespoons of boiling water. So we're going to carefully put water like this. I don't spill anything. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now what's really important is to have a good working space. I'm using actually puppy pads right now because they're really good at absorbing water. So Again, with boiling water, you want about 4 to 6 tablespoons of water. Okay, and I'm just gonna try not to waste paint, so I'm just gonna try to wash as much paint into the mixture as possible. And then that's also going to agitate the paint in there. We want to make sure that the paint is thinned out. Okay, and you know what, just for kicks, I'm going to add another tablespoon of water in there so I could rinse the paint off of my tablespoon. Okay, now just want to make sure that you agitate it again, makes it real good. Okay, now you're going to say, Regina, you can't dye the flower in this thing. All right, yeah, I know. Well, this is just a concentrated dye. All right, what we're going to do is that we're going to add about 10 ounces of water to your paint bowl. Now, you're going to ask, well, what temperature do I use? Or, you know, is it hot? Is it boiling? Whatever. If your flowers are squished, you could actually skip the process of fluffing your flowers if your water in this particular mixture or in your bowl is around 110 degrees, you know, because we want to make sure that the flour and the paint and the water get all soaked up together, you know, to make it bloom. If your flowers are already fluffed and you don't have to worry about that, you know, then I would suggest room temperature water or even maybe cool water. But in this case, we want to make sure that this dye gets incorporated into the mixture. Okay, so again, if you need to fluff your flowers, make sure that this water is slightly warm. Okay, the boiling water clearly is going to make this temperature of water here higher. But again, we want to make sure that you don't have the flowers fall apart. So once you're done, we're going to take your mixture and pour it in. All right, we want to make sure that you get all of that nice paint in there, and we don't want to waste anything, okay? So in this case, I'm going to actually add some of this mixture in here. I should have mixed this a little bit, beforehand. And as you can see, the puppy pads are soaking up all the water. So if you're working with kids or really messy adults, this is definitely going to work for you. Okay, we're going to just mix it all the way up. Okay. I'm probably going to add some more water because I don't want to waste any of this awesome paint. So, as you can see, this goes on really thick. Well, not really thick, but it has this really good saturation of color. So, you're going to say, well, you know, what about if I don't use up all of this? Or what about if I have to, you know, I have to go, I have to leave. Well, you could just put a lid on it and then you could store it on your counter. Some people like to store it in their refrigerator because it's humid out, but it's entirely up to you. So anyway, we're going to ready the space for dyeing, and you could do one of two things. You could either use puppy pads or you can use paper towel rolls, but I will warn against the paper towel rolls because I wasn't paying attention and I actually put my flowers on paper towel rolls and forgot about it for a couple of days. As you can see, the paper towel roll stuck on my flower. So this is an imperfect flower. I'm going to keep it for my tutorials so I can show you guys, you know, different tricks and stuff. But anyway, if you use the idea of a cookie baking or drying rack here, is that you're gonna, the really good thing is that you're gonna get some air in between the base of your flower, and it's not gonna stick to the puppy pad or the paper towel roll like this. You just want to make sure that this nub and this bottom is dry. So how are we going to dye this? Well, for me, what I like to do is that you're going to grab the nub and you're going to just dunk it just like this. All right. And you just want to make sure that you gently dunk your Sola wood flour, all of it, until it's even. All right, and then you're going to shake off the excess here. You don't want any extra water in there. And then with this flower here, as you can see, it's really nice. It's super teal. This is actually going to go into an arrangement to one of my cool coworkers that has a Pilates studio. So this is her business color. Now, again, you're just going to shake off that excess water, and then you're going to gently place it on your cookie sheet or cookie drying rack. Now, if you don't have a drying rack and you don't want to, you know, let's say if you have a nice one and you don't want to put it on it, well, that's perfectly fine. You could use paper towel roll or you can use puppy pads, whatever you would like. However, if you dry it this way, the bottoms are probably not going to dry effectively, or efficiently. You're going to probably, you're going to chance it with a longer drying time, or you're going to get some moldy bottoms, and we don't want any moldy bottoms at all. So anyway, this is what you can do. Another way that you can dry your flowers quicker is to use a food dehydrator for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I personally have not tried it, but I could try to figure out how many minutes you could put it in the food dehydrator, as long as you're not using that food dehydrator for food. Anyway, this is my tutorial. This is going to probably dry in about 2 to 3 days, depending on the humidity. Sometimes I'll dry it even more if I forget about it, but that's perfectly okay. But as you can see, it is a beautiful teal flower, and this dahlia is going to make someone really happy. Okay, if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks. Bye.